All right, Rangers, today we've got a cracker lined up for you. Transfers, drama, and decisions that could shape the future of our beloved club. From Rangers preparing a move for a phenomenal upgrade to Dez's, to Barry Ferguson's no-nonsense reaction to a striker once likened to Wayne Rooney. But that's not all. Philippe Clement's under the microscope again, snapping at journalists and facing big questions about his future as pressure mounts both at Rangers and with Belgium sniffing around. And if that wasn't enough, we're diving into the 8 players whose contracts are running out. Some huge names on that list, including ex-Brighton and Man United stars. Stick with me, because by the end, you'll be debating whether we're looking at the next big rebuild or just another January gamble. Let's get stuck in. Well, looks like there's plenty of drama brewing at Rangers just now. Philippe Clement's got a bit of a fire under his backside, hasn't he? Dropping points against Dundee United at Rangers was a tough one to swallow, and now he's got to prove he's the right man to lead us forward, at least until that League Cup final against Celtic. Pressure's mounting like a kettle about to burst, especially with the board wondering if they should let him tinker in the January transfer market. It's all very do or die, isn't it? Now, on to this Evan Ferguson chat. The lad's only 20, but he's already making waves at Brighton and for Ireland. For 13 goals in the Premier League by his age is nothing to sneeze at, especially when you've got stats like overperforming his expected goals by 3. Compare that to Cyril Dez's, who's about as reliable in front of goal as a chocolate teapot right now. 16 goals last season sounds decent until you see the 27 sitters he fluffed. Honestly, it's like watching someone try to fish with a broken net. The big question is whether we can actually pull Ferguson away from the other clubs sniffing about, Premier League sides no less, and convince Brighton to let us have him on loan. They're not daft, they'll want guarantees he'll get regular minutes. Meanwhile, Celtic's apparently in the mix too, but that's a non-starter. Imagine letting him land over there. No, thank you. Here's the spicy bit for you to chew on. Should we really be looking to loan a youngster like Ferguson when we've supposedly spent good money on Dez's to lead the line? Or is it time to accept we might have bought a dud and start planning a proper rebuild? Oh, Philippe Clement's not pulling his punches, is he? Fair play to him for sticking up for the squad and taking on the journos head-on, but you can't help but think he's painting over some cracks here. Injuries, creativity, freshness. Aye, we've been unlucky on that front. Losing lads like Rabbi Matondo, Tom Lawrence, and the rest is no small thing. But is that really the whole story? Feels like a wee bit of excuse-making, doesn't it? And then there's Sutar, chipping in with the "we're better in Europe" narrative. Well, we've had a few tidy nights on the continent, but what about those league matches where we've looked as threatening as a damp squib? He says it's not about style, just consistency. But isn't consistency what separates champions from pretenders? Here's the thing that'll ruffle some feathers. Do we really believe it's just bad luck and injuries holding us back? Or is this squad not built well enough to dominate domestically? Are we pinning too much hope on players coming back? Or is there a deeper issue at Rangers that no one's ready to admit? Barry Ferguson's not exactly rolling out the red carpet for Joe Gelhardt, is he? Fair point, though. If you're shopping for January reinforcements, do you go for a lad who's barely seen a pitch this season? 8 minutes in the championship doesn't exactly scream oven ready, does it? You can't just dust a player off, toss him into the Scottish Premiership cauldron and hope for magic. We've been burned on that before. Gelhardt's got a reputation, sure, and comparisons to Wayne Rooney probably had his agent grinning ear to ear, but let's be real, potential doesn't fill nets, and we need players who can deliver now, not ones needing half a season to find their feet. That said, a loan-to-buy deal might not be the worst shout. If Clement thinks he can unlock something in the lad, it could give Dez's the kick up the backside he desperately needs, or give us an alternative when he's fluffing chances like a striker with 2 left feet. But is this really the time for punts We're already behind the curve in the league and can't afford to spend January gambling on projects. Here's one to get folk talking. Should Rangers even bother with players like Gelhardt? Or is it time to dig deeper and bring in proven winners instead of rolling the dice on someone else's cast-offs? Well, isn't this a bit of a soap opera? Philippe Clement's got Rangers fans watching one drama unfold at Rangers while his name's being whispered around the Belgium job like it's the best-kept secret in football. Talk about multitasking under pressure, juggling Europa League matches, a misfiring squad, and now this potential get-out-of-jail-free card dangling in front of him. You've got to wonder, though, how Clement's taking all this. He's been telling anyone who will listen that he's in it for the long haul at Rangers, even with results going south and fans starting to lose patience. But let's be honest, if Belgium comes knocking, would he really say no? Managing your national team is a once-in-a-lifetime gig for most, and for a Belgian like Clement, it might feel like destiny calling. Plus, let's not ignore the fact that life as an international manager is a lot easier than grinding out results week in, week out and at Rangers. And then there's the timing. If the Belgian FA really are close to chucking Tedesco and Clement's being whispered about as the frontrunner, this might suit everyone involved. Clement gets a soft landing away from the pressure cooker at Rangers, and the board avoids having to sack another manager mid-season. Win-win? Or is it a cop-out? Here's one to stir the pot. If Clement does get offered the Belgium job, should Rangers let him walk away with his head held high? Or would it be a betrayal to leave us in the lurch when things are at their toughest? The contract situation at Rangers is looking like a ticking time bomb, isn't it? 8 players heading into the final stretch of their deals, and it's not just the fringe lads we're talking about here. There are a few big decisions looming. Tom Lawrence is a prime example. He came in with plenty of hype, but has spent more time in the treatment room than on the pitch. Do we gamble on his fitness, or is it time to cut our losses? Then there's Leon Balogun. He's been a steady hand at the back, but let's face it, at 36, he's not exactly the future. It's a question of sentiment versus pragmatism. Vaclav Cerny's situation is an interesting one too. He's expressed a liking for Glasgow life, but will Rangers push to make his move permanent, or is this just a fling? And what about those young lads like Adam Devine and Alex Lowry? Are they part of the long-term picture, or are we about to let more academy talent slip through the cracks? The longer-term contracts offer a mixed bag. James Tavernier, Yanis Hadji, and Rabbi Matondo are locked in until 2026, but that only delays the inevitable. By then, will they still be integral to Rangers, or will their value have dwindled? And then there's the bright spots, players like Nicholas Raskin and Danilo, who've got contracts running well into the future. That's where we need to focus, building a core that can actually deliver. Here's a bit of spice to chew on. Should Rangers focus on tying down seasoned veterans like Lawrence and Balogun for short-term stability? Or is it time to clear the decks and bet big on youth and fresh faces to rebuild properly? If you haven't seen yesterday's video yet, you're missing out. Explosive news about Rangers that'll leave every fan stunned. Go check it out now.